Hello and welcome everyone, we are back with a double chapter review of Undead Unluck. Now before I get into the video, I want to say a couple of things. Firstly, I want to shout out the last video I put out, which was my Uma tier list video. In that video, I ranked the Undead Unluck rules based on how the world would be if they were removed. So if that sounds like something that would interest you, I suggest you check that video out. Next, I want to announce that this will be the last format that I do the chapter reviews in, like as in showing some gameplay and kind of like doing the panels over each other. I've decided that I want to show my beautiful face to you guys. And not only that, doing like a more vlog style video will probably lead me to less editing so I can put out these chapter reviews faster. And also I want to start reviewing different manga. Like my name is Mr. Talk Reviews, not Mr. Talk Reviews Undead Unluck. I do want to dabble in some other stuff as well. And to be honest, I'm quite into bodybuilding as well. I have always kind of intended to do like some bodybuilding comparison videos, like Mark's Max Muscle does. He's a bodybuilding YouTuber. Like I like his like comparison videos. I would want to do something like that, but I just haven't got the time to get around to like doing all that kind of stuff. But yeah, hopefully the changes that I'm planning to make to this channel will allow me to have some more time to put out some more different type of videos that I want to do. And one more thing I want to do, I guess I'll give a shout out to my Twitch. I've been streaming on there every now and again. I've actually already started using my face cam there. My Twitch name there is currently Mr. Talk Reviews. I think you can change your name. It says I can change it in 2 weeks. So I think I'll be changing it to Mr. Talk Gaming or something like that. I'm doing a lot of gaming on there basically. Currently I'm mainly playing FC24, but I plan on buying Elden Ring by the end of this week, so I'll be streaming that as well. Eventually when the new Dragon Ball game comes out, I'll be streaming that. I'm really excited for that. I always get the Dragon Ball games when they come out. I also plan to play Baldur's Gate sometime. Me and my friend really want to try and hop on that game. If he'll allow me, I'll probably stream our sessions of playing that as well. So yeah, check me out on Twitch, Mr. Talk Reviews. If you can't find me under that name, I've probably changed it to something like Mr. Talk Gaming or Mr. Talk Gaming and Fitness, because I'm trying to do a bit of fitness mix with my gaming as well. So yeah, if that sounds like it interests you, follow me on Twitch. Right, anyway, let's get into the chapter review. Okay, so we're starting off with chapter 214, and I can't lie, this chapter was a bit of a slow one. And to be fair, it's gonna happen with manga. Not every manga chapter is gonna be a massive hitter. In fact, the next chapter after this isn't that much better than this one. We're just in a state of setting things up at the moment. I feel like once this little arc of Tatiana is over, we'll get into some really cool stuff. But for now, we just have to go along with the flow and allow Yoshifumi to cook and set up his characters how he wants to. Now, we are currently in Moscow, Russia. And it looks like Tatiana's gonna have a little runway modeling event here. So Gina and Chikara are outside scoping out the place, looking at her bodyguards and whatnot. And we find out that Tatiana has disappeared. She's escaped her bodyguards. Fuuko's extremely fearful of this because Tatiana's ability, Untouchable, might manifest in a crowd of people outside of her performance. It might just be in the city itself. But now coincidentally, Billy's daughter Betty, she's gone missing as well. So now much of the Union is in full-on panic mode. We then see Tatiana and she's in disguise. Understandably, she wants some downtime just to her, not have all the glitz and glamour around her all the time. It's a typical celebrity problem to have. While she's on her stroll, she coincidentally runs into Billy's daughter. It seems Betty got away from Billy by being distracted by this ice cream vendor. Or well, I think it's an ice cream vendor, but it seems to just be like desserts in general, because they get something called blini, which seems to be a Russian pancake, I guess. Or not even just Russian pancake, I think it's just Russian for pancake. But anyway, Tatiana initially thinks she should just ignore the child, it's not her problem, but eventually brings herself to help her out. So whilst they're sitting down eating their blini, that's when Betty actually realizes that she's not with her parents. But Tatiana is able to calm her down before she makes a scene and blows her cover. Now back with the Union members, they're all over the place trying to search for Tatiana, and Betty I guess as well. But they're having no luck. They even got reports that she was at the blini shop, but they don't know where she was afterwards. Fuuko suffices that Tatiana's probably used to being followed, so she's able to shake people off pretty quickly. And it seems like she's figured out a different idea of how to get to her. Oh yeah, and also in this scene, Billy has an idea of his own and just wants to blast shots into the air so that Betty would be able to hear them and know that it's him. But I think it's his wife that's like holding him back and like telling him to stop. The police will get there before Betty does. We head back over to Betty and Tatiana, and they're just sitting on a park bench, and I guess from the commotion that Billy's causing right now, Betty's able to hear him and knows her dad's voice and just runs straight over to him. When Betty gets to Billy, she is able to tell him that a girl was helping her out, but Betty ran through a crowd, so they can't get a clear view of her. But there is an interesting panel. It's like all blacked out, but everyone else is in white silhouette. And Billy's inner monologue says, "The height and that posture, is that her?" And it's got me thinking, does Billy have this like enhanced senses kind of radar thing going on? Because he's blind, his other senses have been heightened to the point where he can kind of see this world how it's displayed here, just a bunch of white silhouettes and stuff. Like, are we actually getting a POV of how Billy senses things? Because if it's like this, it will actually still make sense how he's such a great marksman if he has the kind of radar sense kind of like this. So we head back over to Fuuko and she's at the town square, which is kind of ironic because we see this panel and the main feature is like a circle, a square, which is in the shape of a circle. But anyway, she's in the square and she says she's going to wrangle Tatiana over there. And basically what Fuuko's plan was, she put out a social media post on the official Pan Pandas page saying that there was going to be like a limited edition Pan Panda meetup in the square. And knowing Tatiana from the last loop, she knew she wouldn't be able to resist something like this. And she was completely correct, because when she sees Fuuko in this Pan Panda mascot outfit, she loses her cool and just tries to run over there. And in the rush, her disguise gets blown off. And when this happens, everyone recognizes her and just starts to rush her. And she starts having these thoughts about why she became a model so that she can touch and interact with all sorts of people. But now that she's got so famous, she's actually been able to touch the people she wants to the least. And in this scene, it actually seems like Untouchable is about to be manifested. But actually, Karuru's there and she uses Unchast to attract everyone's attention away from Tatiana and to her. And that's pretty incredible. Unchast became like uniquely useful in this certain situation, in this really specific moment, really. Now Fuuko in the mascot outfit is able to be alone with Tatiana, and Tatiana is about to introduce herself to the Pan Panda's mascot, but Fuuko lets her know that she knows her already from 200 years ago and that she's here to keep the promise, and that's when she lifts up the hood and reveals herself to Tatiana. Now straight into chapter 215, Tatiana's berating Fuuko for taking off the Pan Panda's costume. She says that when you're wearing that costume, you become someone who makes dreams come true, so there's no excuse for ever taking it off in public. Fuuko's actually a bit upset herself for this as well. She said she got overly excited and actually forgot that fact herself. Because Fuuko is a Pan Panda fan as well, so she would know this, that this is a complete taboo in the community, I guess. Now Tatiana actually straight away assumes that Fuuko's just a new bodyguard for her and fires her previous 2 bodyguards. And I'm surprised, didn't you want to know what Fuuko meant about 200 years ago? Why would your new bodyguard just call up to you and be like, yeah, I know you from 200 years ago? Maybe she just didn't even hear what she said because she was so livid that the person underneath the Pan Panda costume just took off the costume in public. She does take her fandom very seriously. But yeah, she fires her bodyguards and she's actually kind enough to say that you can say that you resigned because she was being too much of a handful, so that them being fired wouldn't be a blemish on their professional record. So all in all, Tatiana is a kind girl. She also did help Betty out in the last chapter as well. And we've always known that Tati is a kind girl, and it's good to see that she still is now in this loop. So yeah, Fuuko is now Tatiana's bodyguard, which actually helps the Union out a lot so they can keep a close eye on Tatiana. So the Union's weighing up their options again, like they were saying before. Should they make Untouchable manifest or try to stop its manifestation? And Fuuko brings up that with Nico's case, there was a very specific condition for Unforgettable to manifest, but with Tatiana it's not that easy, and she'd essentially just have to avoid really large crowds all the time, which is practically impossible, especially with her career. So Fuuko basically concludes that they need to use their negation abilities to suppress the damage of the tragedy that will happen, so they can't avoid it, they'll just have to mitigate the amount of casualties. So now they're scoping out the runway, and Sean says the venue can probably fit around 1,000 people easily. And actually looking at the structure of this thing, this is actually like the best, not the best, but like the easiest way that could be like max amount of damage basically, because the runway just like runs straight into the middle of the crowd of people, and it shows on the diagram. If Untouchable activates there, everyone will get splattered against the walls and stuff. So they're discussing ways they can like stop the Untouchable like causing so much damage. And one way they think of is for Chikara to use Unmove to like stop the Untouchable sphere like growing. But Fuuko brings up the fact that Unmove can only work on things that he can perceive. The Untouchable sphere is invisible, so it wouldn't really work on it. So they need to figure out a way to make the Untouchable barrier perceivable to Chikara. But at this point they get kind of cut off because Tatiana's talking to Fuuko and shouts at her and asks if she's even listening. Which is a valid question because technically Fuuko was not listening. So Tatiana asks about how her outfit looks And Fuuko says it looks wicked sick. But Tatiana's not happy with that response, and she says so the clothes are still wearing her. And I think this is just like the true mindset of a model. It's not enough to just wear the clothes, it's how you present yourself in them as well. And she does say that she will tame these clothes and do a walk worthy of them. Fuuko has a bit of an inner monologue and says that Tatiana is so strong, and that this runway show is everything that she ever wanted in the past loop and in this loop. But now that her ability is about to manifest, this will be her last chance to really shine. We then move over to Tatiana doing like a practice run on the runway, and Chika is there and he takes a picture, and it seems like Tatiana is actually mad at him for taking pictures before the show. She tells him to hand over the picture, but it's actually just so she can sign it, and tells him to come tomorrow. She'll look a lot prettier then, and they'll need a lot of incredible photographers there for it. We then cut to like a couple panels of a kind of like montage of them planning how to suppress this tragedy. And I'll go a bit more into my insight on how I think they're gonna suppress this tragedy in the post talk, so stick around for that. Next we cut over to Tatiana in her bed with a bunch of her pandas, and she's just wondering how Fuuko knew that she was into them because she's been hiding her obsession with them. And she finds Fuuko's proposition to be friends interesting, and she's never had a proposition like that before, and says it would be nice for them to go away somewhere once this is all done. And in the final scene of the chapter, it's finally time for the runway event, and Fuuko just tells everyone to get in position and that they're gonna negate this tragedy. And that is the end of chapter 215. So yeah, these two chapters were kind of a bit slow. I feel like the second chapter had a little bit more to it. But yeah, these are both kind of like setup chapters. We're in like a bit of a like action lull at the moment. There wasn't really any action in the last arc either. But these are kind of like really short collect some crew member arcs. They're not like too big and bombastic with it. I do wonder if Soul's gonna pull anything during this manifestation though. Like back in chapter 213, Fuuko was still a bit wary of his plans. And also remember, Karuru did show up in this chapter. It might be Yoshifumi sprinkling that little thought that, yeah, Karuru is still around. Soul might do something to control her again and do something weird. Because we don't know if his connection to her is completely gone, that might be the thing that Fuuko's overlooking. Because it was never explained like how he had that Well, it was explained that he shared some of her soul with her, but did he just expend all that soul energy in that soul bullet he tried to hit Right Eye with? I don't think so. So there might still be some kind of connection there with Soul and Karuru, and something might happen during this manifestation event. But anyway, I also wanted to talk about how they might be able to suppress it. Basically how Chikara's going to be able to perceive the untouchable barrier. So one of those panels in that montage had like Gina doing some kind of unchanged stuff with smoke. So I think they're just gonna like probably fill the room with some smoke and Gina use unchanged, like she uses her unchanged arms to move about the smoke around the sphere. And so the smoke can be the thing that Chikara actually uses unmove on. And it looks like Billy's there as well. He might be able to copy unmove and have it from a different angle as well. Because it's only what's in Chikara's line of sight. So if he sees one side of the sphere, he doesn't actually see the other side. So that end could technically stay expanding. So if Billy's on the other side, they can have full coverage over the sphere. But yeah, that's simply what I think they might be able to do. Maybe it'll come up with a different situation. But yeah, that's all I have for this video. Thank you for watching if you made it all the way here, and I'll see you later.